I've been retired a little over a year now, and in today's video, I want to share with you the 21 things that vanish after you retire. These are the things I really wish I had known. And as an ex-financial advisor, I can't help myself. I'm going to break the list into two categories. The first one's financial, and the second one is emotional. So let's start off with the financial. And the first one is your budget. But here's the important thing: the importance of test driving your budget, how much you're going to spend every month before you retire, because you want that transition to feel comfortable. Much better to find out if it doesn't feel comfortable before you tell your boss you're going to retire than after. Because before you retire, you might say, I'm just making up numbers. We were spending 8,000 a month, and we're planning on bringing that down to $6,000 a month. And for some people, that will feel great. And for other people, they'll say, this is too sacrificial. I wish I could spend more money. And if you think about that before you retire, you can plan for that and say, okay, maybe I'm going to work another 18 months so that I can spend more money. So that's the first thing. Obviously, your budget changes, but what's not obvious is the important to test drive it as best you can before you retire. The second one, and this is really important because you want to understand this before you retire, and that is your risk tolerance, the pain of loss, the pain of what happened as I record this 3, 4, 5 months ago, April of 2025, where the stock market, the S&P 500, dropped about 20% from top to bottom. And that's a feature of the stock market, not a bug. But we're not robots. And so the way I used to feel about a 20% drop, it was very different than how I felt about it this time, even though I had a balanced conservative portfolio. So you want to know about that so you can plan ahead of time. So you're not caught behind the curve and all of a sudden feeling a lot of stress, feeling a lot of anxiety, feeling a lot of angst, and not being able to sleep at night. You want to adjust your portfolio to reflect for that. And from my financial advisor days, putting that hat back on, what I saw is the risk tolerance changed a lot. Not like 10 or 20%, but the pain of a loss changed. The pain of a stock market loss caused a lot more pain than many people were thinking about. So I want to put that on your radar screen. The next thing is just the importance of thinking through your healthcare insurance. If you're retiring before 65 and you don't have Medicare, obviously, which is my case, thinking about that ahead of time. And the world can change. Since I retired, the way that the health exchange is run by the states, the way that works has changed. The one big beautiful bill, this isn't political, but for me, one of the less beautiful parts of that bill is it's going to be more expensive for my healthcare insurance. It is what it is. Okay. The next one is it's really, really tough to go from being a saver to being a spender. And I've observed hundreds of families retire. I've helped coach them into retirement. I knew this was coming, and to prepare for that, I've been trying to flex my spending muscles a little bit every year and give myself permission to spend more before I retired so it would be comfortable. But the reality is it was not comfortable. And it still took time. And the other thing is missing my paycheck. Um, Not having that dependable paycheck coming in twice a month is both a financial thing and then also an emotional part of things. Okay, the next one is taxes. Um, Taxes, as far as how much you're going to spend for taxes. And in retirement, you can go through a period where you have lower taxes. For me, I still had some money coming in that first year of retirement, just different miscellaneous things. So my tax rate did not drop as much as I thought it would be. Okay, number 7 is required minimum distributions. Um, Required minimum distributions, I haven't had to worry about that in the first year of retirement, but many people, it's going to be on your radar screen and planning for those required minimum distributions. Because earlier I mentioned taxes. For many of us, for the first time in our life, we can control a lot of our tax situation. But once required minimum distributions come in, a lot of it is set for us. We have to take those withdrawals from our regular 401ks, from our regular IRAs, whether we want to or not. Okay, the next one, which I think is number 7 or 8, is our healthcare costs. Our healthcare costs, unfortunately, are going to be higher than what we think, even once we're on Medicare. According to Fidelity, unfortunately, the average person, Fidelity says, we need to plan on $165,000 once we reach age 65 to cover our healthcare costs for the rest of our lives. And this is outside of what Medicare pays for. So it does include the Medicare premiums and the cost of the supplements, but it also includes the co-payments, the co-insurance, things that aren't covered. So that's a big number. I want you to know about it. Okay, number 9 is just the importance of the go-go, the slow-go, and the no-go years. I'm in the go-go years. So I've done probably more traveling in the last 12 months than I ever have. And I want to take advantage of it. This is the youth of my senior years. And then there'll be a period of time where, I won't be doing some of these more expensive things. And then unfortunately, if we live long enough, many of us are going to face the no-go years. So thinking about that ahead of time. The next one is related to that, and that is the importance to reward yourself when you can. The things on our bucket list that we want to do, that too often we find ourselves not doing. We're out of some days. Someday is today. And if you struggle with this, if you struggle with putting off things that maybe are going to be harder for you to do in the future, and you really, in your heart of heart, know that you should do it now, there's a great book called Die with Zero by Bill Perkins. Again, the title's Die with Zero. Okay, the next one is our retirement accounts change, right? They change from being a vehicle that we're putting money into, and unless we have some form of earned income, we can no longer contribute to our 401ks. We can no longer contribute to our IRAs. Once we're on Medicare, though, some of this I think has changed a little bit with the One Big Beautiful Act. But previous to that, your health savings account, you could not make health savings account contributions once you're on Medicare. But look into that, talk to your accountant, see what the rules are for that. Okay, the next one, number 10, is just the importance of having a plan. We talked about a lot of these things, about our monthly budget changing. We talked about the go-go years, and I didn't use the term, but what financial advisors call the retirement smile. So you start off spending a fair amount of money, my go-go years, my traveling. Then we kind of, taper that off, and then at the end of life, we may find our expenses go up again because of healthcare costs. So just the importance of planning. The other thing, I did not mention earlier, but Social Security and the Social Security trustees, as I record this, just released the 2025 report. And unfortunately, they're still predicting that the Social Security Trust Fund is going to run out of money in 2033. And that doesn't mean our benefits are going to go away, but it does mean that the existing tax base at that time will only cover about 77% of our benefits. So there has to be a solution. So the importance of planning, so we can plan for that and do what if scenario planning. The gold standard is to work with a financial advisor on that. If you prefer to do it yourself, I urge you not to use Google Sheets or Excel to do that, but to use software designed for you. The software that I like is called Bolden. It used to be called New Retirement. You can find it at this QR code or in the link below, but it's very powerful. It'll do this scenario planning for you. It'll help you think through different what if scenarios. It just takes too much time to do it yourself, and frankly, it's just too easy for any of us to make a mistake. I don't wanna see that happen to you, so this video is not sponsored by Bolden, but I am an affiliate. You'll be supporting the channel. Again, link down in the description. Okay, so those are the financial ones. Now let's talk about the emotional ones. And stay to the end because there's 21, so there's going to be 10 emotional ones. But the number one change that I think we all need to know about that's critical, at least for my happiness in my first year of retirement. So stay at the end of the emotion section. I'll talk about it. The first one is just that initial relaxation and not one of the biggest joys of retirement for me is not having to rush, to have the time to enjoy the moment. And then, before I retired, I really debated whether to retire because I felt like I could do it all. And as a retirement advisor myself, I knew I had to be careful because the four most dangerous words for any would-be retiree is just one more year. And I felt I could do it all. And frankly, I was able to do it all. I was able to do a lot of the things that I enjoyed. My company was very generous with their vacation package. So I was able to do travel. I was able to do a lot of fun things. But what I wasn't able to do was just relax. It's exhausting trying to do it all, and at some point, you don't have to do it all, and that's why I made the leap. I made the decision to make a leap, and a quick aside, what I will share is what saved me from one more year syndrome is I set myself 2 goals. One was a financial number that I wanted to hit, but the other was an age. And if I hit the if I hit the age number and didn't have the finance number, I promised myself I was still going to retire. If it was close enough, and if I hit the finance number, but I was still not at I was at a lower age, maybe I was 52 or whatever. Then that opened the door, but it didn't say I had to do it. But I didn't want to go past certainly the age side, and that's what saved me. I made myself a promise I would retire before 60, and I retired at 59. Okay, enough said. Um, the next one is just less pressure on our shoulders. As much fun as some of us have at work, and I used to have a lot of fun. The reality is we still have goals that we have to hit. And that can make it sometimes difficult to sleep at night. It can put stress on you. And having that stress, no longer the need to hit a goal for work, no longer on me, was very liberating. Okay, the next one, emotional. It was a little tough to get out of the routine. I did not have to set a routine for myself for 20, 30, 40 years, right? Monday through Friday, it was wake up early, get in my workout, rush to work, grab my coffee at work and, do the day. And then you come home from work and spend time with the kids, get ready for dinner, whatever it is, there's a built-in routine for you. And after 40 years of doing it, I was okay, like, okay, I've got to come up with my own routine. Also important is relationships. Our relationships change. If you're married, the most important relationship for you is with your spouse, with your kids. This isn't a religious channel, but if you're religious as well, with your God, those are our most important relationships. Um, but our work relationships are also important, right? We worked close to those people in proximity, right? Their desk was next to our desk, or we saw them in the lunchroom every day, or at the coffee machine, whatever it was. And just eh, giving up those work relationships. And as much as you'd like to think that they're going to stay the same, the reality is they don't. You've heard that from other people, and that's healthy. But the importance of keeping up relationships, the other, relationships, um, and having new friends. And one of the big things that cause people to not enjoy retirement and frankly to enter depression is isolating themselves. So the importance of continuing to put water in that well of relationships. And the relationship, if you're married, if you have a significant other, making sure you and your significant other are on the same page for what's retirement going to look like? What's fun for us? What do we want to do? And get on the same page if you can before you retire. Okay, the next one is just the joy of geographical freedom. During COVID, I was able to travel a little bit. I was working remotely, and I did have some geographical flexibility, but sometimes I had to work weird hours. So it was nice to have the geographical flexibility without having to sleep unusual hours so I could be on my company's time slot. So the geographic flexibility really meant a lot to me, both before I retired during COVID, but then in retirement, it really took it to another level. I didn't have to worry about, gee, this is a 6 hour time difference. How am I going to make that work? So having that geographic freedom, and what I like to do is something called slow travel. So rather than, try to see as much of Europe as I can in 2 weeks or even a month, I'd rather go to a town and really get to know the town and get a set. What I enjoy is learning cultures and what does it feel like to live in this town. I use the term I want to uh, feel like a local in a foreign country and doing what I can to, what's the routine like here? What's the culture like? I love to take public transit when I'm in town, in a foreign town. It's a great way to meet other people. And it was just nice to have the time to do that. And from an emotional standpoint, another thing, another few things that change is we go from worrying about our job, worrying about hitting our numbers, maybe occasionally worried about being laid off. Worrying about our health becomes much more important, which is a great thing. Um, and then if we're not careful, we can worry about running out of money. And I did not mention it earlier when I was talking about the importance of planning, but that's one of the most valuable things with a financial plan is to have the confidence. We all want certainty, but unfortunately, financial advisors, no planning software can give us certainty. But if it's done well, it should be able to give us clarity and it should be able to give us confidence. And know that, like when a financial advisor or financial software says, you have a 92% chance of never running out of money. What that's really saying is, you have a 92% chance that these budget numbers that you put into the system and the assumptions that you put into the software, you have a 92% chance that if all that work plays out that way, of not having to make changes. But that's really what it is. It's not a 92% probability of success. It's a probability that you might have to make changes. So 92% would mean, there's about a 10% chance you might have to make some changes. I think that the likelihood of having to make changes is higher. We don't know what inflation's going to be. We don't, what the stock market returns are going to be. So I urge you to stay flexible. But people go from worrying about their jobs and worrying about saving enough to worrying about their health, which is a good thing, and worrying about running out of money. And what I would say is relax and just have confidence that as humans, we are adaptable. And if something comes up, we will tweak things. And it may not be the experience you thought it was going to be, but it will be a different experience. And in my experiences, those tweaks that come along the way, those curveballs, they open the door to other adventures that are every bit as exciting as the ones I was planning on. Okay, the next one. Just the relief of not having all the responsibilities at work. Kinda touched on that earlier, so enough said. The next one is, and remember, stay to the end because 'cause I'm gonna share at the end, the number one thing that changed and made my first year really joyful and really fun. Okay, number 9, is s just having fewer restrictions. Restrictions on, how much time I spend on different things, who I spend time with, what I say, who I work next to. So having those restrictions lifted and being able to, If you stumble on something, let's see what something that I stumbled on recently that I enjoyed, maybe learning about, like, the history of Europe and, unfortunately, the colonization, whatever it was history stuff for me. But when you come up with those that you have the time that you can actually spend digging a little bit deeper. And it's not like you have to, stay up till 1 in the morning and pursue your curiosity. You can say, huh, I'm going to write that down and I'll look at that tomorrow. And you can go to sleep at a decent hour and still get 8 hours of sleep and still have the time to pursue new curiosities. Frankly, that's very healthy. Okay. The next one is, frankly, the emotional relief of just having the time and the freedom to pursue my health as best as I can. Being able to spend time in the gym without feeling like I'm squeezing it in. Being able to grocery shop and yeah, I use a service where and it's readily available for free at some of the bigger grocery chains where I used to do all my grocery shopping online. I still like doing it, but every now and then it's nice to just walk through the store and say, what does the store have? And maybe there's some new things that I want to try out, some things that look healthy, maybe organic fruit or, a new frozen vegan product, whatever it may be. And it's nice to have the full 168 hours a week as opposed to squeezing it in the 20 hours that I had outside of work and sleep and other responsibilities. Okay. But the number one thing that really brought a lot of joy to me is just having the freedom to be authentically 100% me 100% of the time. The reality is we all have to wear at least a little bit of a mask at work. I was fortunate I didn't have to wear much of a mask at work, but it's professionalism, and you know it's just nice to be 100% authentic and be who we are and be comfortable with that and know that, what, some people are gonna like that and some people might not, and that's okay. And the reason it was so liberating for me is if we're not gonna be authentic now, when are we ever gonna be authentic? So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, the next video of mine I think you'll enjoy is this one here, which is 8 things to stop doing in our 50s and 60s on our journey until we get to retire. It's a journey, not a destination, and we need to enjoy the journey, and this video talks about that. Thanks for watching this one. Bye-bye.